Jim Mattis, Secretary of Defense, has found a way of both reassuring NATO, but also transmitting Donald Trump's core message with regard to NATO, which is essentially pay up or we're going to adjust our commitment. All right, so U.S. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis on Wednesday issued a sharp ultimatum to NATO, telling allies that they must start increasing defense spending by the year's end, or the Trump administration will, quote, moderate its commitment to them. Now, this does bring some assurances to NATO, but it also, as we stated, lays down an ultimatum stating that you need to increase your commitment. One of Donald Trump's key issues during the campaign was that the members of NATO are not carrying their weight. And there is some legitimacy to that, right? So he's not completely wrong. I mean, if you look at NATO's budget, the United States is carrying, obviously, with the most developed or the largest economy. The United States is a percentage of their GDP. We're paying 3.6% of our GDP towards NATO's budget, compared to other nations that are not meeting their 2% commitment. So you have the United States, who, of course, we're meeting our commitment. Greece at 2.4%, Poland at 2.2%, the United Kingdom at 2.1%, and Estonia is meeting it directly at 2%. Every other nation, including France, Turkey, Norway, Croatia, Portugal, Romania, Albania, Bulgaria, Denmark, Germany, even Germany, as strong as their economy is, every other nation is below the 2% commitment that is outlined in NATO. Mattis said that, quote, America can no longer can the American taxpayer carry a disproportionate share of the defense of Western values. He also noted Russia's 2014 annexation of Ukraine's Crimea region and the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria's hold over power of parts of Iraq and Syria, and said that, quote, some in this alliance have looked away in denial of what is happening. And despite threats from the east and south, we have failed to fill in the gaps in our NATO response force. I'm going to be honest with you. Like this particular policy from Donald Trump doesn't bother me. What bothers me is the language. What bothers me was the language of his language was reckless. Donald Trump's language was reckless, and it undermined the post-World War II order. And it was unnecessarily reckless. Now, if you want to get more out of NATO members, why not? I mean, they committed to it, pay up, right? But to undermine, the role that NATO plays in the international community for the sake of percentages, like seriously, the difference of Lithuania going from 1.1% to 2% probably would not create enough relief for the American taxpayer as a whole, not even individually, clearly not as individuals, but the body politic in America. We're not going to save that much money by Lithuania going from 1.1% to 2%. So the bellicose language that Donald Trump had towards NATO was so unnecessary in the sense that it was destabilizing. Because these nations need to know that they can count on Article 5 in the case of Russian aggression or any other nation's aggression. And so it was unnecessarily destabilizing for, the cost benefit analysis. You're not going to get, America's not going to save that much. Maybe we go down from 3.6% to 3%, maybe, right? And I'm sure that translates into, several $1 billion. I get that. But still, in the greater scheme of things, the risk that Donald Trump was creating, or the destabilizing effect that Donald Trump was creating, did not justify the cost that we would save with NATO. Mattis actually threaded the needle. I think Mattis has a lot of issues that we need to discuss, and I'm sure we'll have enough time to discuss them as he continues to do what he does. But his language in parsing this was actually He was able to pull off both and. He was able to reassure NATO that we're committed to you, as well as saying, but you need to pay up. Let's see how it plays out.